If you are interested in product photography, either as a business or because you have products to sell on a website, then this video is for you. We're going to show you the simplest product photography setup using objects and items that you probably already have around the house. So stay tuned. The first thing you're going to need for your product photography setup is going to be a background. A background could be something as simple as some scrapbook paper. Solid colors work well, or patterns. You can also use contact paper or wallpaper. Just make sure that if you're using a pattern that it's not copyrighted, or if it is copyrighted, that you secure permission to use it before you sell an image or promote someone else's brand with it. You can also use tinfoil. Tinfoil, if you crumple it up and then flatten it back out, all these creases that remain reflect light in different ways, and it makes a really cool background effect. You can even use it for portraits if you use large enough pieces. The simplest hack of all, though, is to use a website that offers free images for commercial and business purposes that you can download, such as Pixabay. On Pixabay.com, you can search for all different kinds of backgrounds. There's literally thousands that you can choose from, and then you actually just use your computer screen as your backdrop, as long as the object that you're working with is small enough. So for my demo, I used this little perfume bottle, and I looked for yellow backgrounds, and then I found this one with these leaves that I really liked. So I downloaded the image and then enlarged it for my screen so that it was full size behind my object, and that's my background. Now, you do have to adjust your computer screen to make sure you're not catching reflections, and we'll talk about lighting and how to do that in just a few moments. But that's the start. So now we have a background. The next step is we need something to put the object on, because obviously you don't want to see my keyboard. You can use fabric for this. Fabric comes in so many different textures, colors, and varieties that you can get everything from a sparkle to a wood look. You can use fabric for larger objects as well when a computer screen would be too small. So you can put the fabric under and behind, and you can drape it and get all kinds of cool effects with fabrics. If you don't have scraps of fabric around, raid your closet. There's all kinds of different patterns, colors, textures, and fabrics just hanging around in there. Another simple way to create a bottom piece, a platform, is to just use a box here with a piece of paper. This one has a little bit of a texture to it. You can also use an old photo frame. Use the plexiglass or glass that's in here and put the paper or piece of fabric underneath it. It gives it a nice reflective look. My favorite hack of all, though, is to use an old tablet. So I can just take this, it has a nice shiny reflective surface, and I took some sample shots of just an old iPhone charging block to show you how good it looks. And I'm going to take this old picture frame just to lay it over the keyboard so it doesn't accidentally press any of the keys. And then the tablet is going to go on there like that. And then that's my setup. On some occasions, you're going to want to decorate the scene, so you might want some props. You're not just having the plain object sitting there with the background, even though that might look nice. Sometimes you need some platforms to stagger items so that you have things at different heights. So collecting some sturdy boxes in a variety of sizes is always a good idea. And you can also just gather things from around your yard. Rocks, pieces of wood and bark, even plants, grasses, even weeds can make for nice textures and add to your scene. For my demo with the perfume bottle, I tried a couple different platforms, including some tile. I tried rocks, leaves, acorns. I even went and pulled some grasses and some different dried types of plants and leaves from around the garden before I settled on some things that I liked. So you'll get an eye for what kinds of objects will and won't work with different products in your setup. Now that we have our setup, we need a camera to take the picture. A camera does not have to be something expensive that costs hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The photo I showed you earlier with the little charging block sitting on the tablet with the computer screen behind it was taken with an older Android phone. You can also use your Apple phones. You can use any type of smartphone, and the newer ones are going to be even better because the technology has improved. But you can also use your DSLR camera. Whatever camera you have on hand is always the best camera to use. For my setup, I used a small table, kind of like a card table, and I put it near a window so I had lots of natural light. And then again, I have to be careful about my computer screen so that I'm not catching reflections. So I set my computer screen up at an angle where I don't catch those lights. Even with the window light and natural light, you might still need additional lighting. And this doesn't have to be expensive. It can be something like this, which is just a light from out in the garage. Comes with built-in reflectors. You can get a pair of these, probably for under $20. There's also very inexpensive LED lighting that you can buy in 1 and 2 packs that would also be around the $20 cost. And a professional photographer is going to say, no, 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 you can't use those lights for product photography. Well, professional lights are going to cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And yes, they do give you more ability to select color temperature and select intensity and those sorts of things. But if you're on a budget and you want to try your hand at product photography, or you're just bored and you want to take pictures of items around your house, then you probably already have this or something like it out in your garage that's easy to use. For product photography, you do not need flash lighting unless you're going to try to do the water splash. Then you do need flash lighting. But continuous lighting will work just fine. And if it's too intense or not intense enough, then just move the angle direction of the light. And in post-editing, you can select what color temperature as long as you shoot in RAW. Once you're set up, then the last thing to deal with is the reflections and lighting. So you have all your lights from your garage, your window, but now you have to arrange them in such a way and the computer in a way that you're not catching those lights and reflections. Not that you can't see them from anywhere on the computer screen, but you just don't want to be able to see them from the camera's point of view. So you may have to rotate your entire product setup one way or another. You may have to adjust the screen forward or back. And those adjustments, you can usually find a sweet spot where you won't be catching any reflections on your computer screen. If you're using fabric or other backgrounds, then it's a non-issue anyway. If you can't get the lights taken care of by that method, or you just want to diffuse the light either way, no matter what kind of background you're using, there are a couple of different ways that you can do this. One very inexpensive way is to get a big box like this. And because it's not perfectly clear, this diffuses the light that's coming in from whatever angle you set your lights up at, and that keeps you from having really harsh, bright lights on any of your subject. You can also diffuse the light using tissue paper, as long as it's the kinds of lights that don't get hot, like LED lights. You can use tissue paper over the lights. You definitely do not want to put any kind of fabric or paper over top of lights like this with the incandescent bulbs that get hot. That would be a fire hazard. But over the cooler type style lights, you can use something to diffuse it. You can create your own softbox using a cardboard box and tissue paper like this. There's all kinds of instructions online on how to do that. And for large areas, like if you need to block out some light from a whole window, if you need to diffuse it, something like a shower curtain liner like this that's fabric from the dollar store might just do the trick. Now that you have your lighting and your reflections taken care of, you're ready to start taking some shots. If you are very steady, you can probably do product photography handheld. However, if you're going to do a lot of product photography, I recommend that you do invest in a tripod. It will make your life a lot easier. And you can get one that does the 90-degree tilt. That way you can do flat lay photography as well, which is quite popular these days. A few final tricks as we wrap things up. As you are setting up your photo shoot, you may find that some objects just don't want to stay put. And when that happens, you can use some console or gaffer's tape to create a little sticky loop to hold items securely in place. If a little bit of this shows, afterwards you can edit it out in Photoshop. Another kind of cool trick is to use some clear fishing line to suspend an item. Makes it look like it's floating or levitating. Just secure it at the top and possibly even at the bottom to keep the item from swaying. And then again, because it's thin and so small, it's easy to remove in a program like Photoshop after your shoot. So there you have it, a product photography setup that for me cost $0. You could probably set up something similar for about the same cost using items around your house. But even if you did have to buy a few items, you could definitely get a pretty fantastic setup for under $50. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please Please stay tuned for some more videos from the Focused Camera channel. Hit the like and subscribe button, and we will see you next time.